The bioptimized humans achieve ideal levels of aesthetics, performance, and health. It's a state of existence where all the body and brain's functions operate in perfect harmony. A symphony of the factors flowing in optimal quantities and qualities. We have world-class biologists to create the best in-class formulas. Our mission and physical suffering by optimizing digestion, optimizing brains, and activating bi-optimized health. We've been optimizing humans since 2004. Buy Optimizers. Use code Abbie10 for discount at checkout. What's going on, everybody? I'm so excited to be sitting here today with Wade Lightheart and Matt Gallant from Bioptimizers. You guys know I love their supplements. We talk about it on the show all the time. How you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Awesome.
It's a fabulous day, another great week.
Yeah, every day you're alive is a win.
Right. It's always a good day to be a superhuman, right?
Yeah. Wade and I always talk about how, we wish most people could feel how good it feels to be bioptimized or feel, just your best version of yourself. So, yeah, we're happy to be here and share the message.
Well, I'm excited because I feel like I've been waiting forever for this. The diet wars has been like a topic of conversation. I feel like even recently my friends and I have been talking about the whole diet trends and what that looks like. And I personally don't believe in a quote unquote diet. I think it's more of a lifestyle thing that you have to do. But I can't wait, first of all, for everybody that's on here, for you guys to see this. I have the packaging here, and let me show you guys how amazing this is. Like, who packages a book like this? Only you guys do stuff like this. And then on the inside, for everybody that's going to want to go buy this book, this is what it looks like. Who came up with the idea for this?
That would be Joey. Joey, he's awesome. And when you buy the book, you're not going to get the spoon, the fork, and the knife. That's just for you because you're awesome, Abbie. But yeah,
Thank you.
Get the book.
So PR presentation is 1,000 plus. Love this. But for everybody else that is, I've had a lot of people asking me about this because I've been talking about it for quite a while now. And the book itself is not, okay, so for people out here that don't understand the value behind nutrition, because everybody's always focused on how we look on the outside, right? Everybody wants to not age. Everyone wants to look young. But no one ever thinks about your internal health. It's like not the cool thing to talk about. I try to talk to a couple of my friends like, I ain't got time for that. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about some creams or something. I'm like, but that's the problem. It all starts internally anyway. So this book, like you said, it's been in the making for 3 years now, right? The Ultimate Nutrition Bible. And I feel like it should be the go-to Bible for pretty much everybody if they really care about optimizing their health.
Yeah, the external side is important as well. If we were going to simplify weight loss and health, for an example, if you're gaining body weight or body fat, your biomarkers get worse. If you lose body fat, your biomarkers get better. Of course, Wade and I got into this because we wanted to look better. We were both insecure young teenagers, and we thought more muscle mass was the answer to life's problems. Wade, maybe talk about how people get started into this because of aesthetics.
Yeah, almost everybody wants to look better. It's part of sexual selection, which is an undercurrent driver of our psychology. It is also social desirability, and so you can't outsource those things. And you said something I want to speak to earlier that's really important. And that is, a lot of people have essentially given up. They've given up because they're confused. They hear about all these different diets. They want to look better. They maybe do some things to kind of get into a better state or a better condition. But what happens is many of those things are counter to long-term success and long-term goals. In other words, ridiculous low-calorie diets, diets that are suboptimal for their genetics or sustainability for their lifestyle, or something that's against them sociologically or psychologically. So it's a short-term solution, and most diets are geared that way. And Matt and I have seen what we call the diet wars, and then, the cult of personalities, which is a bunch of do's and don'ts and almost a religious dogmatic approach to things that, either, like plants are trying to kill you, or everybody needs to eat steak, or if you're not eating stuff that wasn't like cavemen, that you are an idiot, and then you got another community that says it doesn't matter if it's carbs, proteins, calories in, calories out. And so what happens is the consumer is caught in this sea of conflicting information. They end up getting frustrated. They check out of it, and then they go, you know what? Rather than fix my vehicle, I'm just going to put a new coat of paint on it. And that's where cosmetic surgery and all the aesthetic stuff that people get sucked into. Not that those things are wrong, but at the end of the day, if you're only just painting over the rust in the car, there's bigger problems. Now, a car, you can get a new car. You can't get a new body. And so what we've done is we systematically taken apart all of the confusion and provided you a key step-by-step roadmap that you can solve any dietary issue relative to your personal choice, your social and cultural components, and what things are right specifically for you. And no one's done this. We're against diet gurus. We're against this kind of proselytizing to the do's and don'ts of religious dieting. And we've just stripped away all of that stuff and gave people exactly what they need in order to be successful, not just in the short term, but in the long term.
And that, I'm fascinated by the whole process myself, actually, because, diets have been a topic of conversation for years now. And everyone feels like they know what the right thing is. So why a book on nutrition and diets, knowing that there's such a big stigma and also misinformation from most people?
First of all, Wade and I are both recovered dietary zealots. I was a ketogenic zealot. I started the ketogenic diet when I was 16 years old, had tremendous success. Use it to lose 64 pounds in 14 weeks once. And anyways,
Oh, wow.
It just worked for me really well.
Effective.
It was, and then helped my best friend lose 191 pounds in 18 months. So I thought it was the answer. I thought everybody should be on a ketogenic diet. Mm-hmm. And then I remember I had one client, his skin turned gray. He was getting digestive issues. I had another client with digestive issues. Again, Wade and I were both personal trainers. And
wow.
I didn't understand. I'm like, why is he looking worse than he did before he started? I didn't understand that not every diet works for everyone. And then Wade got onto a vegetarian diet. He's been plant-based for 20 years. I'll cue him up in a second. But same thing with him. Wade was a very successful trainer and had some clients get really great success. And obviously he's worked incredibly well for Wade. He's won multiple national natural bodybuilding championships on a plant-based diet. So we argued for a very, very long time. And when I say argued, Wade and I have been blessed to build a meta mind, meaning that we constantly share new insights. Like, we're constantly learning, we're constantly experimenting, both with ourselves and other people. And then we share, hey, this worked, this didn't work. And we started finding common ground. We started finding what we call like universal nutritional optimizers, which means no matter what diet you're on, if you follow these principles, you can make the diet work better. And then over time, we just realized, you know what, everybody's got different genetics, and nutrigenomics is a really big part of the overall puzzle. And it started to explain why certain diets worked and others didn't. Wade, jump in.
Yeah. here's the stats. 97% of people who engage in a diet will end up failing, and it's not their fault. And one of the things that we talk about is every diet works for a while and then it doesn't. And unfortunately, people don't understand what things will derail them. And it's not talked about oftentimes by diet gurus. You're just cast in a lot that you can't cut it. You're not good enough. You're not able to have the discipline to adhere to it. And here's the good news. Matt and I, one of the things that we discovered is him and I are not really that disciplined. Okay. Our psychological profile says we're not disciplined. So we had to find ways, and we have different psychologies, almost polar opposite psychology. So put it this way. Him and I, as a keto plant-based, advocates for ourselves, we're at the farthest ends of the spectrums, and we have completely different psychologies about our emotional and psychological needs. And neither one of us are disciplined. Yet we found common elements that have allowed not just him and I to be successful with our diets, but all kinds of other people from every possible dietary philosophy you want. Bodybuilders, fitness competitors, people that are hundreds of pounds over the weight, people that have struggled to gain muscle mass because they're like so thin. And that experience has given us unique insights, and we just want to help people. We want to make a difference in their life. And we figured that out, something that no one in our experience, and that's almost it's over 60 years between the two of us, we've never seen anybody talk about this. And that's what the book is about, to help you choose your own adventure that you want based on your goals. That's a big factor. Not everybody has the same goal. Not everybody has the same genetics. And for darn sure, not everybody has the same psychological, emotional, or cultural or spiritual needs. And without addressing those things, you're guaranteed to go off trails. And I think a lot of dietary experts are going to be really excited about reading this, because always in the back of the mind, the ones that they fail in, they kind of drive you mad as an expert. And they'll talk about it in the green room of an event, but you'll never see it on a marketing piece. So we're pulling the curtain back and letting you inside an insider's look into, what people really need to know if they want to be, live long, live strong, be healthy, and be the ideal weight for them.
Which is what you'd hope, because health is everything. I feel like until you get sick and don't have your health, you don't realize how significant it is. So you guys are claiming to be ending the diet war with this book. I definitely need to hear more about this, because I've had too many debates about it. But also, for the people that are really into this whole diet fad, what type of diet should they be running away from? Because I think I had someone call me the other day and they're like, girl, if you're trying to drop some pounds, just fast for like 2 weeks. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I do this regularly every couple months. I'm like, well, that's why you keep gaining the weight, because that doesn't make any sense. So help us understand.
Yeah, we have a whole chapter on fasting. So there's not much we haven't covered in the book. And it can be used for weight loss. I mean, I've actually been using it quite a bit this year, and it works. Again, you need to know how to use it and when to use it. And we go into great detail. But yeah, which diet should you run away from? First of all, one that is not aligned with your spiritual or cultural considerations. So for an example, we have Muslim friends, I have Orthodox Jew friends. And, for spiritual reasons, there's certain things they don't eat, or they fast for 40 days. So for those reasons, if you're plant-based because you don't want to eat animals.
Wait, did you say fast for 40 days?
Well, Ramadan, right? They eat at night, but yeah.
But for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing dry fast during the day.
Okay.
So who are we, or who is anyone to tell them that they should not do those things, right? For them, it's spiritual devotion, and that's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. So again, run away from anybody that tells you to, basically go against your spiritual beliefs. The second thing to run away from is something that doesn't feel good psychologically. I like steaks. I like meat. Wade likes plants. So there's a psychological attraction to these diets, which fortunately align with our genetics. And I think a lot of people force themselves to do diets short term that they know they're never going to stick with. So I think trying to at least choose a dietary strategy that you can follow long term is really critical. And yes, you can do crazy things or really intense things short term and get good results. But what are you going to do next? Right? If you do a crazy diet, you do a bunch of fasting, what's your strategy or your game plan after that? And I think it's
Right.
really important for anybody that's losing weight to realize that when you achieve your weight loss goal, you're maybe a third of the way through, meaning that the next goal is you need to reverse diet, which we can get into. And then your last goal is to maintain your body weight for a couple of years within range. And I'm going to cue Wade up because there's a really important concept we talk about in the book called alarms.
Yeah. So just to add, there's two things to add to what Matt said to avoid demonizing of foods. We've seen people lose weight on a Twinkie diet. We've seen people lose weight on a McDonald's diet. We've seen people lose on a bodybuilding diet, a keto diet, a paleo diet, a plant-based diet. The list goes, there's no end to ways that you can get there. The problem is how you get there versus how you sustain, which is what Matt was talking about. And the other thing is demonizing people for what they eat. So this is where you're getting into cult dynamics. Like, you'll see some experts saying plants are trying to kill you, or you're an evil person if you eat animals. Well, those are very subjective statements, and that you could take apart relatively quickly. Do they apply in all situations to all people? And the answer is no, exclusively on all of those. So when you talk about alarm bells, this is so many people set themselves up for a failure, and I'm no different than that. And I've done it at the highest level. So way back in the day, I went to the Mr. Universe contest in 2003, and I dieted for 11 months. I've got the best coach in the world and everything. I get done the contest, I'm like, okay, great, that's cool. And I just let off mental vigilance. I gained 42 pounds of fat and water in 11 weeks. I went from Mr. Universe to Mr. Marshmallow. What did I learn?
Wow.
If you don't have a plan after your goal, then you are setting up for success. And that's the biggest reason why people fail. They don't have alarm bells after. So what we've outlined was almost what no one has done, although now top bodybuilding and fitness and performance athletes are doing this, is if they're trying to get to a desired weight goal. Once you achieve that goal, just before that, you're planning your post-diet strategy. In other words, how do you strategically get back to normalized eating, a healthy thing, more social, where you can go out and have a birthday party with your friends or a social occasion with your family without blowing the whole thing. And so we've systematically put those points in and set these alarm bells that you have a weight range. And when that alarm bell goes off, you have the exact strategy to implement so that you don't lose all of the gains that you've made or keep all of the losses you've made, depending on how you want to framework.
Right. I mean, I don't think I've ever looked at it like that. Making sure that because everyone's always thinking about the goal. But I don't think I've ever had a conversation with somebody about what happens once you get to the goal. How do you maintain it? How do you stay
Most
there?
people celebrate pig out at whatever the event they're celebrating for. And then they go, and
Guilty.
then here comes the rationalization.
Yeah.
I've been so good for so long. I deserve this holiday. I deserve this binge fest. And then those old psychological, emotional reasons, which have now been eliminated because the goal gone, those subconscious things come in. Those boogeymen will take you out. And that's one of the unique pieces of the book is we're showing people how to expose those boogeymen and flush them out of your life forever so that whatever diet that works for you, and we show how to be successful on virtually any type of diet, both in the short term and long term, that those boogeymen never come back to haunt you.
Right, which is the important part of maintaining that. I love that. So who is this book made for? Is this for health professionals or your average everyday person that's just looking to be a little more healthy?
It's literally for everyone. There's a weight loss book within the book. There is a whole section on how to build lean muscle mass, which we personally believe everybody would benefit from gaining an extra maybe 5 to 15 pounds of lean body mass, not just for aesthetic reasons, but for health reasons, right? Muscles absorb glucose. Muscles are the number one way our bodies dispose of glucose. So when you're eating carbohydrates, your muscles will store it, burn it. So if you want to actually have a faster metabolism, building lean muscle mass is one of the best ways. So even if you're a woman, and if Wade and I would have a Bitcoin for every time a woman told us, I don't want to build muscle and I don't want to get too big, we'd be billionaires. But, you know,
Yeah.
here's the cool thing. If you're a woman, hey, do a lot of squats, do a lot of deadlifts, you'll build a thunderous booty, some nice strong legs, and, you know, you'll have a more feminine shape. And if you're a guy, of course, you know, building wider shoulders or wider back will help you have a better shoulder to waist ratio and make you more attractive. We have a whole section on athletic performance, a whole section on how to optimize your brain on a daily basis, and then a whole section on how to live long and strong. You know, our goal is to get to 100 and beyond and be rocking all the way through. No one wants to be decrepit. So no matter what your goals are, we got something for you.
Clearly, I'm like, there's a book within the book.
In the book, yeah.
So if you had somebody new coming to you, like let's say a woman, like you said, women are always like, I don't want to be too muscular, but I want to be fine, and I want a booty that looks like this, and I want to look like all the Instagram girls, and you know, let's say they're maybe like 30 pounds out of their goal range. What would be, is there such thing as the perfect diet for someone like that? And how would people generally know how to choose the best quote unquote diet?
Yeah, great question. So I've literally done this for, I don't know, can't even count how many people. First thing, are we clearly define what your goal is? So I always start with the end in mind and work backwards from there into an incremental, sustainable program. It's not enough to get to the goal if you ruin everything in your life to get there. And I've seen people do that. Then we're going to look at, okay, where are you in the stage of your life? How much time do you have? What's your commitments, your genetics? What's your psychological, sociological components that you need to do? And that might involve a few key tests. You know, maybe you don't know that you're suboptimal methylation cycle, or that you are prone to a poor cortisol response because you don't handle caffeine very well. These are going to be very determining factors on your long-term success, you know, at your age. And then why are you doing this, and what's the lifestyle that you imagine yourself? And I used to tell people back when I was coaching my clients, I said, you know, the easy part is getting to your goal. What's going to be interesting is once you get to your goal, what do you think the payoff is for getting to the goal? And a lot of people think if they get the goal, they get the payoff. That's a perceived component, which is usually feeding an unconscious psychological need. So basically, the book helps you figure out exactly what's going to be the right foods for you, how many calories intake, what's your exercise regimen, what are some key tests that you might want to take to optimize that process, or some experts that you want to bring into your, you know, frame of reference for key elements. And then put the plan together. There's an app that comes with it, sets all this stuff up for you. This is really simple, and off to the races you go. And you have these checkpoints. As I said, you're working backwards. So you have these little checkpoints in where you are monitoring your progress, celebrating your successes, and recalibrating from areas which are suboptimal. So we're not expecting perfection from people, but we give you the tools to regulate yourself so that you're always improving. And eventually you'll get to where you want to be, and you won't blow it once you get there.
Which is the important part.
Yes.
I've never thought about it. That's such a great way to look at it, to look at your goal and work backwards, and then think about because that is exactly what I'm guilty of, that myself. I like sweets, and I like everything that helps you gain weight. And so, of course, when I gained the weight, I was like, well, this makes sense. I mean, look what I've been doing. Does your blood type play a part into how you're eating or how you're dieting, so to speak?
No.
Is
So
that a
there was
fact? Because someone had told me at one point that your blood type determines like what you should and shouldn't eat and all that stuff. Is that a myth? Is there any truth to that?
there's no science to that. What
Mm.
there is science again is nutrigenomics. So let's get a little bit into genetics. Everyone has different mutations, and mutation sounds like a bad thing. Some mutations actually are good, give you superpowers, if you will, and
Mm-hmm.
some mutations are suboptimal and require you to make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
So, for an example, I don't have great genetics for saturated fats. So, when I discovered that, I've made adjustments. I eat leaner cuts of meat and I've increased my monosaturated fats. I have bad genetics for selenium, and I did a hair analysis test. And of course, I'm deficient in selenium, even though I've been supplementing for a while. So, I need to increase my dose. And Wade's got some great examples. For an example, he's got a gene variant that causes a delay for the message to go from the stomach to his brain, which can cause him to overeat. But he's created a great strategy around that, which is to eat a big ass salad. So it takes him 20, 30 minutes to eat the salad and he feels full. And of course, supplies him with a tremendous amount of fiber. So, nutrigenomics, which is the science of nutrition and genetics, is one of the most powerful new tools we have to really understand if a diet's right for you. And more than that, really the nuances within a diet that will make you more successful. Wade?
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of the zealotry came out of the lack of information that was available to us. And genetics is a game changer. Hormone testing is a game changer. Mineral testing, vitamin testing, game changers. All of these things will allow you to remove the, well, so and so said this, I heard this, my friend did that. And so I would say it's probably the first family friendly diet book ever. And that means that it will address everybody's issue in the family because, you know, the parents, they have different genetics, the kids will have different genetics. So like every parent knows that Sally doesn't like what Johnny does. Johnny's energy system is very different than Sally's. And as parents, we become very clear that, hey, it's not all one size fits all. And unfortunately, that's been the history of the dietary process and well-meaning people. And unless you had super physiological discipline or some great genetics to start with, you're probably going to fail on your diet. And we believe that we found a way to remove all that using the latest science in a simple and easy to understand way. And don't be scared by the size of the book. The average person is probably going to need maybe 150 pages out of that book, and they can be wildly successful. But the great news is someone in their family can read the same book and read a different 150 pages so that they could be successful on their diet. That's the beauty of this. So now that's going to set up a conversation, not about what's working for me or not working for me relative to the other person. It's about what's right for me, what's right for me right now, and am I doing this as optimally as I possibly could.
That's such an incredible way to map that out because now you're becoming a helpful resource to everyone in the family. So there's really no excuse. A lot of times it's kind of like, oh, I have to go buy another book. I don't want to, but the book is there. And now you have a solution to whatever someone may be perceiving as a problem.
They get an app. They
Yeah.
can also go to the app. So guess what? Once they get into the book, now their customization side of it, what's right for them, they're now getting the feedback loops that will give them the confidence to make the decisions. Well, maybe someone very close to them is making a different set of decisions with full confidence, as opposed to coming back and go, well, I'm doing this, but well, I can't do that. Well, what someone else is doing is irrelevant to you. This is directly for you. So we've got a wealth of resources. It's backed up, by the way, by 875 scientific periodical reviews. So this isn't backed by science.
Unreal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, actually, I can't even really say that. I don't even know why I'm acting like I'm surprised because that's what you guys typically do with everything. It's not something that you're just putting out there. You always have backing information for every single product. People always ask me, "Oh, why do you always talk about that Bioptimize? Like, I've never heard about it. I don't know what it is. It's probably not even that great. Sounds like a scam." It's it's really, I've been taking them for the last 2 years, and it makes such an incredible difference in how you feel on a day-to-day basis. Even my friend recently was like, "These are incredible." I try to tell my friends, like, if you learn how to take care of yourself, you don't need to do these cleanses, where you're like going. A lot of people say they're painful too. I'm like, if you just stay hydrated and take the right products and you just eat properly, like, you're good. You don't need to do all that. So understanding, I guess, aside from the science, which is very important to show that it is, obviously something that is proven, something people can trust, and that there are facts behind it. How does dieting, or how do you guys believe dieting affects people psychologically? Not just on the success of a diet, but the process in getting to the point where they want to make that commitment to themselves. Because it is a commitment that you do have to make. Especially if you're, like, for me, for example, I'm from Spain. I love carbs. I love sweets. Like, I'm here for all of that, I'm not that person that's like, I'll have a side of, like, air and a lettuce and, like, maybe a carrot. Like, I'm that person that I'm like, let me get some fries or some pasta. Where's the dessert menu? So how do you think that can affect people, especially in the culture we're living in, where social media has become such a big thing, and a lot of people are basing realistic, quote unquote, diets in comparison to what these I well, we call them the build a bodies, because, like, it's not really an attainable thing realistically. Like, you have to go to a doctor for those sorts of enhancements. And I think a lot of that now too is playing a big part, at least in conversations I've had, especially in women that are plus size, in the way that they think about a diet and what healthy looks like in their world, just because of what they're used to seeing exposed to them constantly on social media.
First of all, I'm a foodie as well. I love food. I went to Europe for 3 weeks, and first of all,
Yeah.
I ate whatever I wanted,
Hmm.
and I lost weight. And I want to be clear: you can eat whatever you want. However, if you don't want to gain weight or if you want to lose weight, you can't eat however much you want. And
Right.
that's really powerful. There's a dietary
Hmm.
strategy that we outline in the book called "If It Fits Your Macros." And for people that love food and want maximum dietary flexibility, it is really the best strategy for them. It allows you to eat whatever you want, just not however much you want. So, if you want to have a piece of dessert, if the dessert is, let's say, 500 calories, you've essentially spent that budget. So you want to look at
Yeah.
your diet like a budget. And if your budget's 2,500 calories a day and you spend 500 on dessert, you can, but you're going to have to make adjustments the rest of the time.
Right.
Here's another strategy. Look
Hmm.
at your calories from a weekly perspective. So let's say it's Saturday, you want to go out with your friends, go have an epic Italian dinner, and you eat 2,500 calories, which is not hard to do when you're having an Italian dinner.
At all. That's like your
Yeah.
entree.
We have, again, a whole chapter on what you can do the day of, the day before, the day after to adjust your calories, again, from a weekly perspective. So some things you can do is you could fast earlier in the day. You could do a workout before the meal or earlier in the day. You can fast the day after if you want, which from a weekly perspective will keep you on target. When I was in Europe, of course, I was walking a lot. And so my calorie
Hmm.
burn was a lot higher than normal. I was probably doing 15, 20,000 steps a day. So there's a lot of ways you can play the game. And again, for people that love food, if it fits your macros is one of the best strategies.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of tactical things you can do. So again, I have a sweet tooth as well. There's a lot of great alternative sweeteners that you can use to make your own desserts at home and cut calories significantly. Erythritol, monk fruit, stevia. There's something called katemfe. So there's some really cool sweeteners or low calorie sweeteners you can use that taste amazing that allow you to be on track. There's a lot of great dietary food. So Quest, the food company, makes, chips that Wade and I've been enjoying. It's like 160 calories, a bag with 19 grams of protein. So
I've had them and they're actually good. They taste good.
They're good. And if you're craving that salty, crunchy food, it's a great alternative. So that's another strategy. And as trainers, Wade and I always agreed on it's better to give people options to upgrade versus trying to get people to eliminate. So if you love chocolate, for an example, and there's a lot of great science coming out on the power of chocolate and cacao, again, upgrading from a Hershey to a darker chocolate is a good strategy. Upgrading from, whatever the Lay's potato chips to Quest is a great option. So the cool thing is in the food industry, there's essentially options for every type of diet, whether you're plant-based or keto, whether you want lower calorie options like Halo Top ice cream. So it might not be as decadent as what you maybe naturally crave, but a big part of the problem is hedonic foods, meaning foods that are designed to be as addictive as humanly possible, drive us to overeat. Now, again, we can enjoy those foods once in a while, but what we suggest is to progressively upgrade those foods to healthier options. And Wade, maybe you got some examples you can share.
One of the things, key elements that we address is satiety. And I'm a person that suffers from satiety issues. Matt kind of alluded to it. It's genetically, I don't have the off switch when I'm eating. So there's a couple strategies that we implement in the book. So strategic fasting and strategic feasting. So I set aside a particular part of the week where I can just let myself run wild. But also I have another part of the week where I'm ensuring that I'm eating high satiety based foods that allows me to keep my calories in check. And so what takes people out is they get too hungry and then they overeat. And that's one of the big obstacles in dieting, long-term dieting success. And then you read all these longevity studies that says, well, the longest living people are in a calorie deficit for the longest period of time. And I'm like, well, that kind of sounds sucky. I don't even want to, I'm going to starve myself to 100. Nah, I'm out. Right? You know what I mean? It's like, that sucks. I'd rather go to 80 and just eat my face
Who
off.
Who wants to do that? Right.
Who needs 20 years of starving,
Exactly.
I can't handle 20 minutes. So these satiety breaking strategies so that you can enter into that, hey, I don't feel like I'm craving, or I know what to do when I have a craving. And I've worked within my own emotional and psychology to provide strategic rewards that suit my emotional psychological need for hedonic foods, indulgences, social occasions. These are the big things that kind of stack up that makes people overeat. And then it's easy. You're able to decode yourself. It's like, oh, okay. And then through a little bit of experience, you start to know exactly what you need to do in every situation. Well, what does that do? It gets you out of the self-doubt and also kind of the self-flagellation that happens when you fail. You failed on a diet not because you're a failure. You failed because you didn't know the proper strategy based on your psychology, your emotionality, your social and cultural needs, your natural tendencies, your own genetics. And so most people just want to proclaim you as doomed, doesn't work for me, being overweight runs in my genes, I can't get past it. There's all of these surface level conversations that we have with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And they're based to obfuscate the lack of knowledge and lack of information, the lack of strategical importance. And we remove that away from you. We provide it. And you'll go, this is what's going to happen when you read this book. Oh, I didn't know that. How come no one told me this? You're going to see that over and over. And what we hope to do is to take that 97% of people who are failing long term and turning into 97% of people succeeding long term with this information.
I'm like, I'm excited about this because I'm hearing about all this stuff and I'm like, okay, my brain feels like it's processing Chinese. But I'm like most people where you don't really understand other than whatever the fad or the trend is. Like, I think it's important for people to know their genetics, but also what a metabolized, like what your optimized metabolism is when it comes to how your system functions, you know, what causes your cravings and why it's important to curb them, or if you eat larger meals, how to portion control to shrink your stomach so that your body doesn't feel like it needs that to not be hungry, which I think is it. I mean, there's so, I think some, even me, I think I've had times when I used to have like larger portions and it didn't seem off to me because that's just what I had gotten used to. But a lot of that too, I go home to Spain, the portions don't look like here in America. But then I come back here and I get used to the portions here. And then your body is like, wait, you're not feeding me enough. I'm hungry. Like, what's going on here? This isn't cool. And so you try to find your way around it. And I think that understanding that it's kind of like understanding the simplest secrets behind like what a diet means to your specific lifestyle and how to apply that on a long-term basis as opposed to something that is going to be momentary, and then you end up back in the same place psychologically because then you feel bad about yourself. You're like, nothing is working. I did it. I was cute. Now it's back. I'm never going to be able to look like this. And I think that a lot of that is misinformation and lack of knowledge, which is why a book like this is like a godsend. I think every home, especially here in America, needs to have one of these just for understanding, if nothing else. Because like you were saying, it's not about not eating what you want. It's just about understanding how to eat what you want the right way for your body. I was trying to wrap my head around, okay, so this is where I go wrong. Spanish in me just butchers names, okay? CICO, what exactly, first of all, help us understand how you even pronounce the word. One.
Well, yeah.
And two, what is it?
It's the laws of thermodynamics. It means calories in, calories out. And
Okay.
in the world of dieting, there's two camps. One that they say everybody just needs to eat less calories than they burn, which is true. And then there's another camp that's trying to tell you there's magical things like hormones and that calories in, calories out isn't true. So what's the truth? Well, I think we finally resolved that debate. And the answer is they're both true. So yes, we all need to burn more calories than we're consuming if we want to lose weight. That is true. If we eat the same amount of calories that we burn, we will maintain our weight. And if we eat more calories than we burn, we will gain weight. So let's just get that out of the way. However, we have a whole chapter, is one of my personal favorites in the book, called the optimized metabolism. So the strategy that has failed so many people has been that they just cut calories and cut calories. So, and I've worked with clients like that. And of course, I did that mistake myself. So let's say we were working together and we measured that right now you're burning 2,500 calories a day. Let's say we say, okay, well, we want you to lose weight, let's say a pound a week, and we cut your calories down to 2,000. That means there's a 500 calorie deficit per day, which is a pound of body fat per week. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to lose a pound, maybe for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, depends on the metabolism, depends on genetics. And then your body's going to start adapting. And at some point, eating 2,000 calories, you're not losing weight anymore. And you're like, well, what happened? I'm still at 2,000 calories. So what people do is they cut their calories further. And what's happening is your body has these starvation self-defense mechanisms that causes your body to slow down your metabolism. Now, yes, cutting calories to a certain point makes sense. However, nobody's going to thrive or survive or be able to sustain 1,000 calories a day or 800 calories a day.
Mm.
And I dealt with clients that destroyed their metabolisms on 800 calorie a day diets. And I didn't have the answers back then. This is almost 20 years ago. So there's a better strategy. The better strategy is, what can we do to increase calories out? So let's go through the list real quick. First of all, there is increasing the thermic effect of food. Let's talk about the king and queen macronutrients. Macronutrients is fiber, carbs, proteins, and fats. The top two macronutrients that most people need to increase is protein and fiber.
Mm.
And again, yes, you can eat some carbs or some fats, but when you increase your protein intake, your body has to process that protein and you actually burn a lot more energy with that. Fiber, you only absorb about 50% of the calories you eat from fiber. Protein and fiber also make you feel fuller. So let's say you're going to a restaurant eating a salad. Of course, you got to be careful with the dressing. People blow their diets with
On
sauces.
dressing.
Okay. And again, I'm not anti-dressing, but
It'll be
I
like
always,
salad soup.
it's like a soup, right? I always ask for this, for the dressing on the side, and I
Yeah.
pour maybe a quarter of what they give me because that's
Yeah.
all I need. I still get the
Same.
flavor. So yeah, be mindful of that. But just increasing the protein intake to ideally about a gram per pound or 0.75 grams per pound of body weight, that alone will dramatically improve your metabolism. So that's one. Two, you can boost your mitochondria. So your mitochondria, basically these probiotics, not these probiotics, but these bacteria in our body that produce energy. So if we increase their strength, increase their numbers, we
Mm-hmm.
will burn more energy. There's a few things we can do for that. So we do things like high intensity interval training, when we do things like cardiovascular activity to a certain point, when we expose ourselves to different stresses like cold, and I'll get cold in a second, we actually make our mitochondria stronger, which allows us to burn more energy. There's also some supplements you can take like CoQ10, PQQ, that'll make your mitochondria work better. Next, here's a big one, and we're going to go back to what we talked about maybe 20 minutes ago, which is activating anabolism. This means when you are lifting weights and trying to build lean muscle mass, first of all, you're going to burn more calories after your workout. You're going to burn a lot of calories as you're building muscle, and your metabolism will improve baseline. So building lean muscle mass is one of the top metabolism maneuvers you can do. And what happens when people are on an aggressive weight loss regime and they're not lifting weight, they're going to lose a tremendous amount of lean muscle mass. And their metabolism is going to get slower. And I'm going to use an example. Let's say your goal is to lose 30 pounds, 30
Mm-hmm.
pounds of fat.
That's
And you're
exactly where I'm at right now. That was a great number to throw out there.
and let's say you aggressively cut calories and you're not lifting weight and you're not eating enough protein, you're going to lose 30 pounds. However, most likely 15 pounds of that is lean muscle. So when you
Mm.
diet hyper aggressively, you can lose about 50% of the weight as lean tissue. So that means you lost 30 pounds, but you still don't look the way you want. Your metabolism's slower, and you're looking in the mirror and you're like, this is not what I
This is not what
want.
I thought it was going to be. Yeah. This is not what I
So
paid for.
the
Exactly.
best
Exactly.
way to counter that
Yeah.
is to lift weights. Now, here's a really interesting one. And this is actually, other than your basal metabolic rate, this is the number one calorie burner, and it's called NEAT, NEAT, which stands for non exercise activity thermogenesis. What does it mean? It
Yeah.
means that
I had no
people
idea
that
what you
have,
were talking about. I know most people are
this,
probably thinking that,
this
when
is
they,
from science.
yeah.
And what they found is that people that have quote unquote fast metabolisms, have a higher NEAT. And what it means is that they're moving their hands around, they're more jittery, they're more active. So literally all these micro movements we do throughout the day can burn anywhere from 500 to 1,000 calories a day. Now, one of the ways you can have a higher NEAT is, for example, I have a stand-up desk, so I'm standing right now, so I'm going to probably burn an extra 50 or 100 calories a day by just standing up for a couple of hours a day. Parking a little further, walking upstairs, just trying to move throughout the day can have a massive impact on your calorie burn. And it's something relatively simple that everyone can do. And I'll wrap up with this. The last one is cold exposure, which has become all the rage. So there's a couple things you can do there. One is if you have a cold plunge, first of all, you're going to burn an extra 300 to 500 calories for 3 to 5 minutes of work. Okay, so you have to just basically get into a cold plunge, hang in there for 3 minutes.
Freeze.
And yeah, but you can start progressively make it colder, but you will burn a lot more energy and you're going to build something called brown fat. Now, brown fat has more mitochondria in it, which means you're burning more energy. So, all of these strategies combined together, you can burn an extra 1,000 calories a day and not force yourself to get into these ridiculously low levels of calories, which can lead to nutrient deficiencies. And psychologically, one time I got down to 600 calories a day. I was eating 2 little patties of ground beef for 3 weeks, and I almost lost my mind. Like when I say almost lost my mind, I was snapping. So anyways, no one should get down to these insanely low levels of calories for an extended period of time. It's just not sustainable. And Wade, I want to cue you up and maybe talk about how to find the right exercise for you, finding something that you love, and talk about what you've seen with your clients.
Yeah. I always get the question, what's the best exercise? And that's a derivative of the other thing. And you see it on shows all the time. What's the one thing I need to do in order to be successful? What's the one exercise? And anybody that lived through the 80s would see all the different exercise gizmos and gadgets from very convincing personalities that this was going to somehow magically transform your life. I always say the right type of exercise is the one that you will do consistency, and generally that means that you enjoy it and that it's somehow convenient to your schedule. So, for example, one of the easiest programs that I have for people who don't have time, don't have the space, don't have a lot of money for gyms or that sort of stuff is using a mini trampoline. I love a mini trampoline. It's one of the most effective ways to get in very quick workouts to boost your metabolism, boost that NEAT factor. You can't feel bad if you're jumping on a mini trampoline. They don't take up much space, and virtually anyone can do it. And it works both cardiovascular and musculature systems as well as the lymphatic system, which is a whole detoxification pathway. It's really great. I like working out with weights, and lifting weights if you look at bang for your buck, it's really hard to beat weight training, not just for aesthetics, but also for longevity standpoints. Muscle mass is one of the biggest determinants of not only how long you live, but the quality of your life that you're going to live. And then maybe you like to run. So for example, I was not a person that didn't like to run, but when we were doing this book, I thought, well, maybe I should try running. I hadn't ran since I was, 15. And 6 months after I started running, I ran my first marathon, and I did it relatively easily. Well, why was that? But because I had the strategies to go into a completely different range. And I wanted to experience what it's like to be an endurance runner, even though I identify, as they'd say, as a more bodybuilding, weight training person. And now I'm more into longevity. So all of the things that I'm gearing for is like cardiovascular was an area that I needed to work on from a longevity perspective. I'm a goal-oriented guy. So I'm like, okay, if I set myself up to run a marathon, I'll get my cardiovascular up. And here's one other benefit that Matt and I reveal in the book. And that is the energy it takes to get to a certain status of lean muscle mass or cardiovascular health or dietary regulation. Once you get there, it's 20% of the effort it took you to stay there. So you burn a lot of energy. It's a lot of effort at first to get there and to build the habits and the structure and the scheduling that allows you to get there. But once you get there, it's easy to maintain. And then based on those alarm bells, you can course correct, just like a plane flying from LA to New York. It's off course most of the time, but they have these little course correction things. And we provide you the GPS for your diet, your lifestyle, your outcome, your goals, so that you can course correct really easily without getting lost.
I was going to say, go ahead.
Now, one more thing I want to talk about, and I think it's something that's worked incredibly well for me in my final transformation, has been doing mini weight loss cycles and then going to maintenance. And I think it's a strategy that for a lot of people can be transformative because, again, when you're in a calorie deficit and you're trying to, let's say, exercise more, that can be challenging. And as Wade mentioned, going to maintenance is a lot easier. So what I've done has been, okay, well, let me really go at it for 4 weeks. I'm going to drop 4 or 5 pounds. And then my goal is just to maintain that new low, right? And then maybe 2 months later, I have more energy, I've got more time, more mental bandwidth. Let me push down another 5 or 10 pounds. So if let's say you want to lose 30 pounds, you don't need to lose 30 pounds consecutively. You can go 10 pounds at a time. And there's a lot of science that is indicating that taking diet breaks, which means you basically go to maintenance, you don't go off your diet and regain the weight, is beneficial. Because again, we want to try to prevent that metabolic adaptation where your metabolism is getting slower and slower and slower. So I think a lot of people would benefit from playing the long game. Take your time. There's no race. There's no rush. Lose 5, 10 pounds at a time, whatever. You set a goal. Go for it. Once you reach it, go to maintenance. And then once you're psychologically ready, push down to the next level.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking just based on myself. Everybody's different. I have some health issues when it comes to like cardiovascular issues and circulatory issues, like just all the things that are just lovely when you're wanting to even take supplements, because everything that helps with energy has a ridiculous amount of caffeine, which puts me in the ER. It's not a good combination. But at least for me, like I get bored when it comes to cardio. But I do know, and I don't know, I've never been able to make sense of it because I don't understand how all this stuff works. But there's been times when I've lost a lot of inches, and I've gone down like maybe 5-10% on fat, but I've only lost like 10 pounds. So I've never quite understood that. Huh?
That's a huge win, right? That means your body is recomping. So let's say you go from like not exercising to lifting weights and you lost 10 pounds, but it really feels like you lost 15 or 20. That means you most likely gained 5 or 10 pounds of lean muscle mass. And I think it's important not to get obsessed with the scale, especially, again, a lot of women.
Thank you. I love you for that. Because everybody's always like, what's your weight?
Again, let's say you want to lose 30 pounds of fat and you start lifting weights. You might look the way you want to look by losing 15 pounds on the scale if you gained 15 pounds of lean muscle mass. Right. So that's why we recommend, the clothes is a great tool to measure progress, right? If you got a belt and you go from 2 holes to 3 holes or 4 holes, you lost body fat, right? There's no lying, or the jeans were looser. And Wade, I'm going to cue you up. Talk about just the power of using the scale and the measuring tape, because that is the cheapest, easiest way to track progress.
I love you guys so much right now. I just have to tell you, like, I've spent so much money over the years on trainers, and everybody's just driving pounds, and I've always been a body fat percentage, inches, the weight on the scales, always, because I always felt discouraged because I felt like this isn't working. I've been working so hard. I look different, but the scale's not showing any different. And so I'm going to the doctors and I'm my body fat percentage is down, but I'm constantly being told I'm obese. And then that messes psychologically with you because now you're like, but my body fat percentage is, I was like at 22%, which wasn't bad. That was, my goal was like to be around 20. And you're telling me that I'm obese now. So now psychologically, I'm like, something's really wrong with me. I'm not doing something right. So in addition to, you know, your response to Matt, I just thought it'd be interesting because I'm sure a lot of people out there may be battling with that same kind of situation, not understanding there's a difference between a number and what's actually healthy for your body.
Yeah. So one of the common problems in our medical industry is they're using a terminology called BMI. And the more amount of muscle that you carry, which is oftentimes going to be aesthetically appealing or performance enhancing, is actually going to push you up into a BMI where you're going to get a false reading because they're using on a general table of components, and most people don't exercise enough, and they'll have actually too little muscle mass that's being factored into the equation. And someone who's really athletic, for example, at 50 years old, I go out and win bodybuilding contests, but I would have a BMI. If a doctor looked at the BMI, that would say that I'm probably at risk for a whole bunch of diseases as an obese person. So as a bodybuilder and fitness competitors, we have to take they oftentimes get a bad rap, but because there's a perception of narcissism towards, are you narcissistic? Because what is a bodybuilder or fitness competitor or Instagram model? What are they using as a gauge? They're looking at how they look in the mirror, how they look on camera, first and foremost. So there is a visual impact of what's a person looking at. And I would say that a lot of women are more hyper aware of this than men. And there's a bunch of reasons for that, like genetic predominance and just observable characteristics. And, that's a whole interesting science in itself.
Yeah.
But what we would use is three things: the visual image in the mirror, or we take photographs every week, the tape measure to see what areas we're losing or gaining, and then the scale. Now, some people will use a caliper test, and then the gold standard would be a DEXA scan, where you could also look at your bone mass, which is a really critical component for females. Not everybody has access to a DEXA scan, but that gives you body fat, lean body mass, and your bone tissue. I use a DEXA scan regularly, but how I gauge it is I get up every morning, I weigh myself in the scale, I stand in front of the mirror, I'll look at myself, I'll check my clothes or check my measurements to see if everything, once a week, once every 2 weeks, I'll check the measurements. But I can gauge pretty much what happened, and I don't get freaked out. Like if I go out with my girlfriend and have a big celebratory dinner because it's our anniversary, and I get up in the morning and I'm 4 pounds heavier than I normally am, well, I know I didn't gain 4 pounds of fat. I've got some food bulk, I got some water. I maybe had an inflammatory response because I had the cake, and I don't normally have the cake, but it was a social occasion that was important to us and wanted to celebrate with the cake. And then I'll watch that the next day. I'll probably be back to maybe 1 pound of my regular weight. And then by the third day, I should be quite regulated, and I can see those changes in the mirror, and I can measure that. Same thing as if I'm doing exercises. If I'm only doing leg exercises, like I'm doing cardio on the Stairmaster all the time, I'm only stimulating my glutes and my legs. And if I'm a pear-shaped type person, I'm going to throw off the proportions for maybe what I want to look like, even if I hit my weight goals or my lean body mass goals, because it's where the weight is distributed is going to determine things. So here's the good news. Matt and I both sucked genetically. We're not genetically gifted people. So we were forced into figuring out all of these things so that we could look reasonable by any standard. And with that, and with working with so many different body shapes that people have, we learned the key elements of how you strategically do this. So it's regular looks in the mirror or photographs, your tape measure on your individual body parts, and then the scale. Those three elements, very cost effective. You do this to again, set those alarm bells, as well as feedback loops of, okay, maybe I don't need to gain any more weight on my legs. So instead of just being on the Stairmaster for 2 hours, why don't I just do 30 minutes in the Stairmaster, because I like to scroll through all the little, Instagram gossip or whatever is going on or what the Kardashians are doing. But I'm going to spend another 30 minutes doing some upper body exercises to maybe bring out my shoulder definition a little bit more and to improve my posture by improving my backs, because so many people are hunched over and they don't know how to get their structure back so they have a nice aesthetic appeal. These little elements can make a huge difference visually, so that you can stand up properly, hold your body properly, and add a half inch here and 2 inches here. And all of a sudden people go, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I just cut my Instagram on the Stairmaster down by 30 minutes and hit the weights a little bit for my upper body. That's what I did." And the people are like, "What are you talking about?"
That's such a great workout regimen right there. But it is true, because that's what most people do. And oftentimes I see the people that are scrolling through Instagram place the majority of their weight on their arms when they're on the Stairmaster, which then I'm always like, what's the point of being on here if you're basically doing an upper body workout because you're just sustaining yourself? But I love that you said that, because in conversations I've had with people, even when I've gone to trainers and they ask like, what's your goal or what's your ideal weight? And mine's like, whatever I feel comfortable with if I'm naked in front of the mirror. That's the type of whatever body weight I need to be at. So whatever that looks like, if I'm healthy, whatever that number is on the scale is whatever I'll be fine with. But it wasn't necessarily down to, oh, it has to be a specific number. Especially I think over time to your body changes, both for men and women. So how you maintain that looks different. But I see I think there's so much more to being healthy than I think we all just understand or would even think to wrap our brains around at this particular point, just because the information is so lacking on what that looks like as far as how you maintain it and how you use that in conversation with the people around you. Because if you're around a lot of people that are very unhealthy, habits do rub off. And so you might tend to revert back. So do you think that the psychological play in your health might hold like a greater value in the success rate for most people based on how they may also be dieting?
My favorite chapter is all about psychological edges. There's 27 edges that you can use and stack and combine to really maximize your odds of success. Because, it's hard. We're fighting evolutionary biology. The beginning of the book, we talk about how our genetics are programmed to fight us when we're trying to lose weight. And that's why only 3% of people succeed. Mm-hmm. Your body's going to fight back. Wade and I have experienced that personally, and we've seen it with our clients. So how do you overcome that? You need every psychological edge possible. You want to be like Las Vegas. I remember I was walking around Las Vegas with a good friend of mine who was an expert in casino marketing, and he was just outlining everything they were doing. He's like, they're pumping oxygen. The carpets are ugly, so you raise your eyes. They're playing C major. They give you free alcohol. They put the bathrooms in the back, so you have to walk through the casino. It just went on and on and on. And he says they're stacking their edges. People think, oh, you're going to go play, roulette or whatever, and that's the edge. No, there's 50 or 100 other things they're doing. And you want to apply that same strategy that they're doing with yourself. So you want to maximize your odds of success. And you hit upon a really good one, which is, I've seen it a lot with my own clients. People, let's say you decide you want to lose 30 pounds and you've got a bunch of friends you like to go to restaurants with, and foods become a part of the friendship and the bonding experience. Do you think they're going to support you?
No, they're always like, girl, it's just one day. It's one meal. Girl, just try this. Get this. Have that.
You look great. Yeah, the excuses go on and on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, adjusting relationships. It's I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous for over 14 years, and when I decided to get sober, I had to tell a lot of my party friends, listen, like, our relationship has changed. I love you. We're still friends, but I can't hang out with you and do what we used to do. It's just not going to happen. So, people, places, and things is this, recovery 101. And I think applying that same mindset is critical. And, one of the strategies for stacking the odds in your favor is, yeah, hire trainers, get an accountability partner, a training partner, or even 3 or 4 people that are on the same mission, so that everybody's motivating each other, everybody's supporting each other. You're heading down the same path together. So those are just some of the examples that we talk about in the book.
So for I'm just trying to think, because now you're talking about accountability, and that's a big part of it too, right? I think that's a big part of getting to your goal. On the app, is there a portion of it, obviously, once you figure out, okay, this is what would be the best direction for me based on, my genetic build and all the other information that you have to kind of sort through to figure out what works best. Is there a portion in the app when people sign up? So let's say another woman about my age, 35, she wants to drop 30 pounds. She's like, I'm trying to be wintertime fine. I want to boo. I want to cuddle. I'm trying to get married next summer. So now I need to get, I need to drop this weight because, everybody wants to drop it quick, fast, and in a hurry, like yesterday. And I need to get myself going as quickly as possible, but I need an accountability partner as well. So once they figure all that out and they get on the app, do they have access to a plan where then now they have to be held accountable consistently within the app as well?
That's coming. You definitely read my mind. So we're building a lot of really cool accountability features. What we want to do is kind of cluster people together, maybe 4 to 6 people that have the same goal. And then, some basically
that's really cool.
some
So it'll be
ways.
actual, like, real people as opposed to like an automated just reminder that most people usually just clear out of their notifications.
Yeah, people don't
I
really
love
feel
that.
accountable to AI and automations, right? So
Yeah, no.
yeah, it'll be powerful once we build that. So that'll probably be coming out probably hopefully by the new year. I really want all the accountability features built in, so they're coming.
So for everyone that's into obviously trying to optimize their health and get to a better place overall, how so one thing I really love about Bioptimizers, aside from, just the products that you guys offer for every day, is the nootropics portion of it. Because for me, until you guys, I didn't really know what that was. I looked at the supplements and I'm like, this looks like it's out of the matrix. The pills look crazy, people. They really do. But it was the most effective formulation of any product I've ever taken. I'm like super ADD. It's kind of like you see a dog outside and it's like, squirrel, they take off. That's me a lot of times when it comes to focus. And this was the only product I could find that had an energy supplement that wasn't loaded with caffeine and that had focus supplements that it's like the minute I took it, about 15, 20, 30 minutes later, I was like, whoa, the first time. Because I'm going to be honest, I didn't really believe in it. I'm like, what's nootropics? It sounds like a cute trend or something, because I was ignorant and I didn't know what it was. And then once I started to understand it more through what you guys offer, the educational portion offline. So if everybody wants to head over to bioptimizers.com, you can scroll through the products on there. You can click, it'll literally take you to the nootropic side. But how much do those supplements and that focus tie into and affect the dieting portion? Because it's all psychological as well. So if you're optimizing the way that you think, that would technically transfer over into how you feel, right? Or do I have that backwards?
I'm going to cue Wade up here, which we talk about how nootropics counter the drop in NEAT, which is a really big deal as you get deeper into your diet.
Yeah. So I would probably categorize under one of the more extreme people. I like really difficult, tough things. In fact, I only get motivated on those things. So whether it's extended fast, long-term dieting that you would engage in for bodybuilding, one of the things that you fight in any time of significant calorie deprivation over an extended period of time is people don't have enough energy. They feel like, hey, my quality of life starts, dropping off. The quality of your relationships drop off. Your ability to sustain that diet for a long period of time or feel good about it also is problematic. And anyone that's been on an extended period of diet understands exactly what I'm talking about. When we added Newtopia as our product suite, we were able to take, situations where I would normally be out of gas. I wouldn't have that get up and go to kind of go execute maybe key business duties or meet up with social occasions because, I just didn't have the energy because of the restrictiveness nature of my, what would be on the high performance type of diets. I had a Newtopia and I felt the same, if not better, than when I had all kinds of food. And what we started to recognize is that your brain chemistry actually has a lot to do with your sustainability, whether that's at work or whether that's on a diet. And so now, by augmenting the neurotransmitters in my brain using nootropics, that's essentially what you're doing with nootropics. And everybody has a different brain chemistry, and we customize for people's unique brain chemistry, which is kind of cool at Newtopia. It's very unique in that way. Is that you can find, 2 or 3 products in the product suite that are perfect for your brain, that allows me, I can go fat, like when I'm going to go to Europe to promote the book next week. When I fly there, I don't eat on the way there. So I'll have a 36-hour fast period by the time I fly here, fly there, go to that sort of stuff. I won't eat. I only eat on the time that I would be normally eating back here in America. So my first day, I'll only eat maybe 1 meal. My second day, I might eat 2. I might only eat 1. And my third day, I'll have 2 or 3. Normally, I eat 4 meals a day. Well, how do I sustain myself with a shift in where I'm traveling to, my performance, my lack of food, like changing my exercise, like everything's completely discombobulated. I rely on nootropics because I know there's a few key nootropics that's going to allow me to keep my energy. I'll be working on the plane while I'm there. I'll sleep only a few hours, but I'll wake up refreshed and energized. I'll be able to deliver a keynote speak at the event that I'm going to, and then go meet a bunch of people after in a social situation on an extremely restricted diet, a restricted sleep schedule, and a restricted, exercise schedule from what I normally do. I'm completely changing that. Well, what is able to change that is the nootropics. And by able to maintain my mental focus and capability, creativity, functionality, and focus, I have no problem being able to execute on it. And that's what we hear so much from people who have struggled with energy levels or focus levels or not checking out from their diet because they just lost that mental vigilance. Well, it really comes down to neurochemistry. And with Newtopia, we can help you optimize that. When you optimize your own neurochemistry, you go, oh, it's one of those, oh, wow, oh my, I had no idea. And, and so that's another big reveal for people. It changed my life dramatically. It made my life so much easier to, hit really difficult goals.
And that was my exact reaction when I first was introduced to it. And I was able to customize it. And I thought that was incredible because that's not something that's often offered. So knowing that you can stack everything. So it's not like anyone is limited. If they want to take Masszymes and, Capex, like those are 2 of my favorite supplements I take every day. And then you want to turn around and you still want to be able to stack with what is on the nootropic side. And then you have trouble going to sleep. So now you might want to take the magnesium supplement, then maybe do the Dream. By the way, I live for that Dream Optimizer spray. I tell everybody about it. You spray it a couple times, no joke, it is lights out in like 15 minutes. For me, it doesn't even take that long. About 5 minutes, I'm gone. But I work so much that my brain is always going, which I think is part of the downside of like when you're a little ADD, I'm always doing 10 things in my head. So having to find the balance of how that would work with my regular workday schedule, which sometimes can be 15, 16 hours, to then be able to still find a balance for working out and be able to have a diet. I love that I'll be able to use the book to kind of help me be better with how I'm scheduling things, which is a couple of my friends and I were talking, and that's where a lot of them were falling off, is consistency day to day, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm busy today, I'll just pick back up on it tomorrow, 2-3 days, a week, 4 weeks later, you're not back on track at all. So for people out there that are wondering how realistic the supplements are and if this really works, once people get the book and they use it, and let's say they achieve the ideal weight, what's the guarantee that they won't gain it back again? How do they make that promise to themselves? Because obviously you're not in control of what somebody does. You can give them the tools, but it's up to them how they choose to apply it, and how can they use the book to tie that in long term, because like you said, it covers everything pretty much. So as we age, I think it's like, what, every 10 years or so, your body kind of goes through a cycle change with certain things. So essentially, they can use the book to stay on track through the different courses of their lives, correct?
That's right. There's a couple of core deep decisions that people need to make. And the first one is that unbreakable commitment to your health. And Wade and I have made that decision. And, sometimes, again, we go a little bit off course, whether it's, I got shot a few years ago, and of course I couldn't exercise the way I normally would, or, we gain a little bit of weight, the alarms come back on, again, that 5-10 pound alarm. So there's a lot of things that, again, will push us a little bit off course. But because we've absolutely committed to our health, and we have decided, this is really important, we have decided that it is the most important thing in our lives, we get back on track every time. So that's the first big decision. And the second one is, you want to commit to getting to what we call final form, and then that is it. You want to have the final weight loss cycle of your life, and that is it. And the only way you can do that is if you achieve it, reverse diet out of it, and then lock it in. You got to lock it in for life. And the key thing is, again, it's something I've learned from sobriety, is you need mental vigilance. Even though it's easier to maintain, you can never shut off the mental vigilance completely, right? You don't want to get into a spiraling descent into the efforts, because that's the end. Wade, thoughts?
Yeah. So again, I believe that developing an emotional reason for that, and Peter Attia talks about that in his book around longevity. And he says, well, people go, oh, I don't want to live forever, but he wants, how functional do I want to live ever? And he says, if you draw a timeline of your life, and then a life of your kids, and then a life of your grandkids, that last 10 years, your potential influence on the second generation is massive. My grandparents had a big influence on me. I also found, that with our company, when I would go on things, I think about, I want to take on this highly restrictive area of my life because I know that I might be able to break through a new barrier or come up with a new strategy or figure out something that's really going to make an impact on someone who's struggling. So I want those emotional hooks. Maybe you want to live longer for your kids. Maybe you have a commitment to a certain group, like it requires a fitness level or a cognitive performance with your coworkers. I like to stack up the emotional and social regions, which is part of our pyramid of nutritional decisions, on why I must do this as opposed to why I can't do this. And the more musts that you can tie into your life that make you feel good, it helps counterbalance the negative emotion and psychological of I can't because of. So we've eliminated all the can't because ofs, and we help you stack up your own must sequence that allows you to lock in not just the strategy, but the tactics for virtually every season in life. And there really isn't a book like this out there. We wanted to create a book that no one else had done, that virtually every expert in the world would wish they had it done, and something that every dietary guru, expert, or system can get behind because it doesn't put down anybody, any system, or any way. We show you how to optimize what's right for you, and to lock it in forever with these strategies that Matt's outlined. And I believe that this book is going to transform the diet industry. Why we said it's ending the diet wars? Because too many well-meaning people have been pitted against each other. That's causing confusion and a high failure rate that's getting people to feel like they can't do it for them. And our message is positive. It's upbeat and saying, you know what? It's not your fault. This is what was happening before. And it's not the diet experts' fault. It's not the diet strategy's fault. It's that people didn't have an all-encompassing, holistic, 360-day version of what's going to be right for them right now, what's going to be right for them in the future, and how best that they could get more results with less amount of effort.
See, I always have the best time talking to you guys because I feel like I learn so much. It's like I get excited about health all over again because it's not my natural space. But understanding all of this it's such a cool thing to learn and know and be able to apply it to your day-to-day life. I'm so excited to be applying the book, and I have a couple friends that are going to get it. So I'm excited to see what their feedback is going to be as far as like how it's, working in their life with their lifestyles. But I did want to ask you before we head out, Matt, last time we chatted, you mentioned that you guys might have some exciting new products in the works. And I was just wondering, how's that going?
We always have a lot of exciting products in the queue. We actually have our first female-focused product coming out soon. It's going to be out before the year end. It's called Cycle Care, designed by an incredible herbalist. And essentially, it's great to take during kind of the PMS periods. Mm-hmm. We have a new product called Stress Guardian, which has become one of Wade and I's favorites, designed by the same formulator. Absolutely incredible if you've got big days, stressful days. And here's my favorite testimonials that has come out of it. This lady was talking to my wife, and she said, I took Stress Guardian and Magnesium Breakthrough, and I want to be upset, but I can't.
I love that. So that means it's probably helping with anxiety a little bit too, right? If it's helping with stress.
We
obviously you don't make the claim, but my assumption, my claim I'm making is if it's helping with stress, it probably also helps reduce anxiety a little bit. Who doesn't want to have just a day where somebody could just cuss you out, flick you off, and you're just feeling so good that you're like, thanks, have a nice day. Like, that's amazing. Like, you even if you want to be upset, you can't. That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, we have some new products coming out really soon. We got a bunch of new things coming. We've actually relaunched Masszymes. We built a new version. It's about 30% stronger than the previous one. So when you get your next load of Masszymes, you'll notice they're significantly stronger, which is great. We have a new version of K-Pax coming out. Like, we've rebuilt all of those formulas and blown away the previous ones. So that's one of the things we do. We're always running experiments in the lab and trying to beat our formulas and trying to make them better and better. So you'll notice on the label, it'll say 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. These are literally new versions that are just better and stronger than the previous ones. We never stop improving things.
I'm so excited. Okay, so that means everybody needs to get the book. And then, ladies, you just need to wait. Be a little patient till almost December to be able to try these other new supplements out. This is so cool. I've been with you guys for almost 3 years now. I joined in 2020. And I just love seeing the company culture and the growth when it comes to the value that you guys put behind prioritizing how good the products are. It's not about numbers and sales. It's about having a product that is actually authentically good for people. Yeah. Like it's the best. That's what I always tell people. I feel like, and I'm like, well, they're like, you're biased. I'm like, not really though. Cause I have taken other supplements and I have, had other companies that, we all have. I think everybody's tried a bunch of different products. We're familiar with a lot of different brands, but this has always been the one that made a realistic difference that I could feel It wasn't just something a label said. So thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to come chat with me about something that I feel is so important in our society today, because health, I think, is one of the most underrated essentials for us as humans, that people don't place as much value in it as they should. So excited to see what the launch of the book is going to be like and how people respond to it and these new supplements. Who knows what you guys have in the pipeline for next year? I can't even imagine, because there's always something exciting going on. But I appreciate you guys so much, and I can't wait to catch up sometime soon on, what, the other million things that you guys have lined up in the works. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.